Let's take a look at how to go from our PICO or research question into being ready to conduct your literature search. In this presentation, we're going to convert a clinical question into the PICO format. We'll brainstorm some keywords and search terms, and then we'll build a comprehensive or systematic literature search. The PICO framework consists of two elements. You start with your PICO question, the answerable clinical question, and you slot it into the PICO format, where you break the question down into its corresponding parts or elements. So our P would be patient, population, or problem. Our I is the intervention. Our C is our comparison. O is outcome. And T is time or time frame. And you may not have every element of the PICO for every project question. If we try this example clinical question, in adults with depression, does a whole foods diet or avoidance of processed foods affect symptoms of depression? And we slot in our elements. Our P is our population, adults with depression. Our intervention is our whole foods diet or avoidance of processed foods. Our comparator is the standard American diet. A lot of times it feels like there's going to be nothing to compare it to, like you're comparing an intervention to no intervention. Technically can't say it that way. So sometimes the phrasing that you will use is as compared to current practice or compared to current standards. And then for the context of this question, I'm envisioning the standard American diet as the comparator or the baseline. Our outcome is looking at depressive symptoms, and I don't really have a time element that is crucial to answering my PICO question. So when it comes to building our search, I zero in on the major concepts from our PICO question. I don't typically use all of them in one search. In fact, you're going to narrow yourself out of results, so you don't want to do that. We already didn't fill in anything for time. I frequently do not use the C, the comparator, in my literature search because it just kind of falls in line once you've identified the major players of your PICO question. And so a lot of the times I will use the patient or the population and the intervention and then the outcome. But since both our population and our outcome are around the concept of depression, I'm just going to kind of combine those and just search the concept of depression. I'm going to leave adults out of this for now, and I'll show you later how I apply that. So I've identified the two major concepts in my question, and now I need to break it down and come up with the synonyms and other ways that authors would describe this concept, especially in the academic literature. So one way that could look is depression breaking out into depressive disorder, clinical depression, whatever other keywords came to mind for you. You get the idea. No two people's lists are likely to be exactly alike. This is where searching is an art. We also might consider using Google, a thesaurus, or any of your medical references or even textbooks to come up with a comprehensive set of search terms that will capture the concept of depression. Same thing for the whole foods diet concept. I'm going to start with processed foods, and this might be where I'd throw in the terminology for standard American diet. This will be a trickier one to sort of encompass and to catch all the keywords for how the author might refer to this concept, because it's not, strictly speaking, a well-defined term. Also, you will want to consider alternate spellings of any of your words, including British spellings. If there's a product or a drug, a medication involved, you'll want to account for both the generic and the brand name, so you want to list each of those. And then when you're coming up with conditions that have a scientific versus a common name, you'd want to, for example, if we were talking about a heart attack, you'd want to make sure that you include myocardial infarction. We are going to combine all the terms for each concept block with OR. What we're doing with the blue block of depression, we're going to put all the keywords together that we found with OR, and then we're going to enclose them in quotation marks. We're going to move to the green concept block, put all the keywords together with OR, enclose that in quotation marks, and then we insert the word and in between them. So it looks like this. This is our depression or depressive disorder, and Here's our whole foods concept ORed together. This is a very simple example with just 2 concepts for each of them. I had clinical depression listed as one of my keywords under depression before, but I decided to pull that back out because it ends up being sort of redundant. Because if it finds clinical depression, it's going to find it because of the word depression. So I sort of reduced the fraction there to simplify it. And then I can take this whole block, I'm going to have this down on a Word document by this point, and I copy and paste this into my databases. You can even use this in Google or Google Scholar. You can copy and paste it into PubMed. You can put it into CINAHL and so on. In a later video, we'll talk about subject headings, including MESH and CINAHL subject headings. Now, we're finally ready to go to those databases and start searching. My wrap-up tips include a strong recommendation to take the time to build a well-considered search first. List your PICO concepts out and brainstorm as comprehensively as you can. Take small bites and work with one concept block at a time. Keep notes. Start a document and save it. Searches evolve over time. You're going to refine it. You're going to revise it. You're going to research it. This is not a one-shot deal. Sometimes it actually is better to work on it for an hour or 2 and then sleep on it and come back. So if you have your notes to pick up from, you don't have to start from scratch, and it helps organize your thoughts. Ultimately, you're going to have to produce a narrative of exactly how you got what you got. So it needs to be reproducible. You'll save yourself some time at the very end. Apply your filters last. Remember I said for our population of adults with depression, I'm not going to search adults as a concept or a keyword. I'm actually going to do my search, and then I go in and look at filters. There are age or population filters, like adult, that I would apply in PubMed and in CINAHL. And then, of course, your date limiters. Do your search first and then apply your filters last. So try it yourself first, but don't spend more than an hour without making any progress at all. Ask for help. Be ready to discuss your search strategy and what you've already tried when you meet with the librarian. Help is available.